Hey Brick Maniacs, we're here on the floor at World War Brick because, well, we can't let Beyond the Brick have all the fun, right? So we got to check out some MOCs, and we're starting off with Paul Thomas, who's got a fairly sizable display going on here. How long have you been working on this?
The concept was probably actually generated before the lockdown, because originally we planned on going in 2020.
Sure.
It was kind of my 50th birthday gift for my wife. My wife was like, "Oh, you want to go? Great. There's your gift." I'm like, "Great. What are you going to do? You're going to buy the ticket, or are you going to pay for my gas to get out there?" Which at the time was $2.90.
A little bit easier. Yeah, I hear that.
So yeah, you know, that's the first thing. Once I make the decision, it's moving. We have to build with that in mind.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, just like you guys do. You know, hey, you're moving that macon. Can't ship it all in one piece.
Got to be ready to go. Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
And of course, you know, it's been down at the Miramar store, holding space until the macon shows up here in the near future, and displaying out there so people can take a look at it.
Yeah, and it's a nice size too, especially if you guys have ever been to our Miramar store. Paul has had this being displayed there for a little while, and it does take up that space that we're preparing for the macon to arrive, which is nice.
Yeah, not as much of the space as the macon's going to take. I don't know how you're getting that thing in there, so.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Right.
So where did you start? Like when you're getting a MOC this level off the ground, are you laying base plates? Like what's step one?
Step one is an initial sketching on a piece of paper.
Sure, okay.
So, you know, I'll sketch it out, I'll come up with a concept, and then I will go out and lay out the base plates, and I literally use 1x1 round bricks, and I use different colors for different concepts of spacing. So I'll lay out maybe the fence line in red ones spaced out so I get an idea of how much space I'm dealing with, and then maybe blue ones that divide the airfield from the main base itself.
Sure.
And then I had a conceptual idea of how to make the tents, so I knew the spacing on that already. Some of the components I'd already made for a Tunisian MOC that I had. The buildings, the primary buildings were for that, so I plopped those into place and then started to fill in the details.
All right, so a little bit of a combination of like sketching things out and just doing a lot of floor planning, because obviously you've got the size and scale here.
Right.
When did you kind of start to hit that point where you're like, all right, it's time to add the greebles and details?
Took about a month and a half to get to that point, because I did do some modifications to give a little bit less space on the airfield, a little bit more space on the base side. I just felt like I wanted more details on that side. But you're right, once we got past that point, then it's all about details.
How much when you're building like this does your MOC evolve? Like when you start, are you able to stick to that base plan like pretty closely, or does it just kind of become its own thing once you start really putting the bricks down?
Oh yeah, it really becomes its own thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, as you do more research, and a lot of people ask, how do you come up with the concept and the idea? I do a lot of Google research. You know, you type in forward operating base. Obviously, we've been in the desert in Iraq and Iran for almost 20 years. There's tons of pictures available, images online. You start to go through those images and you start to pull details out.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, as I work through the layout, like I said, about the first month and a half, it's the main components, and then after that, it's several layers of details added.
Right.
And then over about a 4-month period, it really starts to pop. You see the little things in there that all makes it all come together.
Well, it's kind of convenient here that we have like this nice dividing line now, so we'll kind of like take it from here and split it in half. Moving on to the airfield side of things. So obviously you're laying down a lot of tile work to make sure it's clean and clear. But like, did you start with knowing you wanted all 3 helicopters on here? Did you? I mean, where did the flying one come into it? How did this come together?
Actually, the concept was I had 2 helicopters on the pad. The original Pavehawk, and then the upgraded, which I think is a W version. Okay. Okay. That was the original concept. I added the medic copter later on. Matter of fact, when we moved it down to Miramar, that had just come out, and that's when I put that one on there.
Very cool. It has some great motion.
I didn't make it fly actually until 3 days before we left to come here. I was like, oh no, we got to put this one in the air. And then this morning I added the lights to it.
I was going to say, the lights, sound effects, everything you got going on here, it's really cool. So what are some of your favorite details on this half? Do you have any Easter eggs and whatnot that you kind of worked in?
On this particular side, I really like the crew working on the helicopter and doing their thing and maintenance and getting it ready to fly and go off out and do a rescue mission. The newest helicopter, of course, is the Ghost Hawk here, Brickmania kit. That's available online. Check it out. Get one when you can.
I've
been waiting for years for him to re-release this particular kit. So
yeah, so this is definitely more of a top secret base than here. If we got a Ghost Hawk sitting on the
yeah,
tarmac.
this is a joint operations, forward operating base for Special Forces. So
cool.
You would not be uncommon to see some Navy SEALs out here, Air Force guys maintaining the helicopters, the Marines taking care of the primary security of the base, Army personnel doing their thing here. So yeah, it's a combination of all forces.
Is that intentionally planned so that you can have a variety of minifigures all look at home in the same spot?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really smart. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's very, very cool. And all brick stuff lighting, I'm assuming, for these?
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, anything that lights up is definitely brick stuff. We just upgraded our 50 cal this morning to the new version with the sound.
Yeah.
Which gives a little noise. I don't know how long I'm going to let that run before it drives me crazy, but it's working.
It is really cool though.
And then we've got some lights underneath this particular canopy. It helps people be able to see some of the details under there. We got a little bird in there, sitting there being
classic
maintenance.
kit.
Yep, classic kit. And then we've got the welder over there in the repair center. He's doing some welding, and I think that's pretty much it for lighting. I originally planned to do a lot more lighting on it, but it got very complicated, and I decided maybe we'll see.
So for some of these smaller builds, we'll move over to this side now. Obviously, you can see that there are some Brickmania kits going on here.
Absolutely.
But for things like the palm trees, things like even these barriers here, do you just kind of come up with a design you like? Do you hunt down some instructions and then just kind of replicate? How does that work?
Well, on the barricades here, they're based off of this design up in front, which is actually a picture I saw offline, and I just reversed engineered it.
Yeah, okay, very cool.
And then based on that, I went to a smaller version because I kept seeing this on bases. And obviously the concept here is that should the base be shelled by artillery, they want to protect the soft covered tents or whatever may be in there, the people obviously sleeping, and a place for them to dive behind in the event that happens. And that's the purpose of them being on the bases, to protect them. And to isolate different components, so should a direct hit, it won't take the whole base out.
Interesting, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, and then we worked on a lot of different details. I'm really happy with my mobile shower unit, which is actually detailed inside. When you crack it open, there's showers in there and actual sinks to use, and this is based on an actual unit that they deploy out into the field now, so that they can have showers at a base like this. And then also I've got the mobile refrigerator unit. You can see the guy, he's got his turkey,
pulling the
turkey out. Yeah.
That's really cool.
So yeah, I saw those in a video. A guy had been walking around a forward operating base that was already closed, but he was talking about the different components, and the military clearly likes to use Conex containers because they transport in a particular size. I'm assuming that makes it easy for them. So they use them for all kinds of different things. They've got Conex containers that are, made for sleeping in, and they've got ones that are made for refrigerator units and all kinds of different services that they do. So we try to replicate those in a way that they look correct out on the board.
So how do you make it work when you see something that you're like, oh man, I got to include that. I got to make some room for it. How do you kind of shuffle it around so that you keep, because you got a lot of motion here. You can see that it looks like this base is operating. It's not just standing still. How do you kind of integrate that stuff when you have something hit you that you're like, man, I have to have that featured? Well,
sometimes you have to give up something you already had on the board.
Okay, fair enough.
So, I mean, originally I had George Hicks's C-Ram was on the board giving base defense.
Yeah, sure.
And it sat right here along the wall, but that truck is really big.
Yeah, right.
It was taking up a lot of space, and for bang for my buck, I felt like I needed to redesign a little bit, and I took it off the board and went with the additional tents, which added the tents, the DFAC, which is the dining facility and the cargo containers and so forth. So,
cool.
I thought was a lot more appealing to look at, a lot more detailing in there. So.
Yeah, well, and it's cool to see the cool mix of kits and then builds that that you either just built eyeballed or had something, you're literally MOC, my own creation, being able to do that kind of stuff, which is neat. So on this side, what are some of your favorite Easter eggs or whatnot that you've worked into it? Because there's a little bit more motion going on.
Right. So my favorite Easter eggs is probably the guy heading to the bathroom. He's got the Sherman toilet paper in his hand, so you know what he's going to do.
That's funny.
Behind the primary HQ building back there, you've got a special Forces operator back there. He may have some alcoholic beverages in his hand. He may not. Clearly, that's where they go to unwind after a
The
mission.
unofficial officers club.
Exactly. So I like my mobile repair box there.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's something I found online that the military actually does deploy. They've worked on, and basically it's the size of a Conex container. It's got its own power and everything on it, and generator. And you pop up the two sides, and you've got all these tools in there, so that you can repair, pretty much anything.
Like a mobile machine shop.
It's exactly what it is.
And I love the light you got integrated there too with the welder. That's incredible.
You got to put the welder on everything. So it's usually one of the last details I put on is lighting details, because that way I can run the wires and figure out where I'm going to hide them and stuff. So yeah.
Very, very cool. Well, an absolutely incredible MOC, and definitely one of the centerpieces here at World War Brick. Is there anything else you want to discuss before we wrap it up?
No, I think I'm pretty good.
Very, very cool. Well, we're excited to see how the MOC continues to evolve. Thank you very much for joining me, and thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.